Welcome to the Side Hustlers Society podcast, the place where you can find out more about the hustles that are best for you. And of course, make more money in the process. Elijah has been in the gig economy and freelance space for over 8 years and has done over 4,000 deliveries on Uber Eats. Has several video editing clients, many properties on Airbnb, runs multiple YouTube channels, and is the author of the best-selling book, The Anatomy of Financial Success. It's his mission to empower people with the tools needed to be successful. Now, welcome your host, the king of the side hustles, Elijah Bilel.
Yo, it's good to see y'all again. It's Elijah from the Side Hustler Society podcast, and we are finally in season 2. And y'all, if y'all are looking at me, y'all are on the video podcast and not listening, you can see there's a big smile on my face because I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. And if you can't see me, well, just imagine me smiling. Okay, maybe don't. That'd be kind of creepy. But regardless, I'm happy to be back. And season 2 is going to be a pretty good banger. The theme for this season is going to be lead generation for your business. Even though we're going to be focusing a little more on freelancers who have a trade or skill, it is going to go into lead generation for business in general. See, the wave that people are really starting to see is taking off is people becoming self-employed. And I'm actually glad that this part is happening, but a lot of people are starting to get away from this. I'm showing my phone on the screen. And what I mean by that, making money off the phone using these gig companies or services like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and all that stuff, which is not bad in itself, but a lot of people for the longest time, they're kind of taking that as, oh, well, I am truly self-employed now. I'm off the 9 to 5. I can quit the 9 to 5 and work on my own terms when that's not really the case. I really consider the gig economy as like a hybrid in between an employee and a freelancer. When people will just assume, oh, well, we're independent contractors, that means we're freelancers. No. Historically, a freelancer is in between a business owner and the employee, where freelancer essentially is basically a one-man business that they have some kind of service or trade they offer, but they can work on their own terms and they get their own clients. The freelancer is the true in-between. This gig economy stuff, overall, I think a new category should be made called dependent contractors. It takes some from being an employee and some from being a freelancer, but I'm getting a little off topic. My point is a lot of people are actually moving past that, getting a trade or skill and starting their own real official business. But then they struggle on how to get clients because they assume once they get that trade or skill, like whether it be graphic designing, video editing, how to mow lawns, for more blue collar work. If you don't know how to get leads, then the service you learn ultimately means nothing. So that's what we're going to be focusing on in this season. Now, this episode is more of a prelude to the season where I'm going to be sharing some books that'll be great reading material that'll give you great context and data to work with when we get into the nuts and bolts of lead generation in future episodes. I'm also going to be recommending that y'all check out an episode I did back in season 1 where I talked heavily about freelancing. It was 10 tips on how to be a better freelancer or 10 tips on freelancing in general. Now, we're going to actually pull that episode up. We're not going to watch it because you can click on that link and watch the whole episode if you haven't later. But I'm going to share my screen so you can see exactly which episode that I'm talking about. So I'm sharing my screen. We're on Spotify. Going to do a little scrolling down. A little more episodes. And that is actually something else that's new this season. Spotify now allows video podcasts. So we ported the podcast, all the episodes from season 1 on Spotify. So Spotify is another place you can listen/watch the podcast, which is awesome. So keep scrolling. It is one of the more first episodes I did. So we keep scrolling. It is episode 5 of season 1, 10 tips needed to succeed as a freelancer. So we're going to exit out of that. I'm going to say right now, you definitely want to see that podcast or listen to that podcast before you even dive to the season, because the tips I give, the 10 tips, they have great foundational tips that'll set up everything that will allow you to smoothly start getting leads using the tactics and strategies that we will go into later in this season. I also want to say that I've received you guys' feedback about season one, if we made some adjustments to the format for this season. One thing that I did notice from season one, even y'all didn't directly tell me this, a lot of the more popular episodes are actually the episodes where I'm actually rocking solo. So apparently y'all like it when I drop game by myself. So we are gonna have more solo episodes this season. And as far as the literature that I was talking about, let's go ahead and get into that. So if you want to get any of these books, there's going to be a link in the description and also the pinned comment if you're watching on YouTube, where you can grab these books. And most of these books, with the exception of one, are on audio. So if you don't have time to sit down and read, you can also listen to them. But the one that doesn't have an audio book, I'll let you know. So starting out, the first book that I want to recommend, and y'all probably noticed that's why my bookcase in the background is kind of sliding. It's because I've taken books off it. But yeah, the first book is Before You Quit Your Job, 10 Real Life Lessons Every Entrepreneur Should Know About Building a Multi-Million Dollar Business by Robert Kiyosaki. So this book, at this point, I think everyone has heard of Robert Kiyosaki before, and they probably listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and a good portion of people have listened to the Cash Flow Quadrant. But a lot of people, they probably heard of that book, but they haven't actually read or listened to it. I highly recommend it. It is, I would say, 70% conceptual, then 30% content. But truth be told, I think that conceptual thinking is very needed if you're going to be becoming a business owner of any kind, whether it be B for business, as he puts it in the book, or S for a small business, which if you're a freelancer, you're going to fall in the S quadrant, and that has its pros and cons. But truth be told, nowadays with the use of technology, a lot of the cons of being in the S quadrant have been mitigated because you can use technology to pick up the slack so you don't have to endlessly do everything yourself, which is another thing we're going to be getting into in later episodes. But yeah, he talks about his process of building a business, having it crash, then rebuilding it, then selling that business to someone else. So yeah, it's the passive income, and then doing his passion of building the Rich Dad Poor Dad brand. And there's a lot of life lessons in it. That's why I highly recommend that you check that book out. Next, and this is a classic, but we have The 100 Absolutely Unbreakable Laws of Business Success by Brian Tracy. And I'm moving the book around so you can see it because the glare from the light is kind of blocking it out. That's why I'm moving it around. But I got this book in my early 20s, and these laws of business success for the longest time, well, I guess it's still true, but they became like the foundation of everything I would do when it came to business. And I like the format he puts because everything that is business will fit into one or more of those laws. So if you memorize them, or if you need to refer back to them, have a copy of the book. This is a book that it's on audiobook, but I really recommend you have a physical copy too, just so you can refer back to it. I don't have the audiobook. I read this book. But yeah, once you start getting into the nitty gritty, those laws, everything ties back to them. And you'll start thinking about them before you do anything business wise. And you'll start to come up with ways of how to enhance your tactics and strategies if you think of off the cuff. While that book kind of serves as the guiding light to make sure you're doing them right and the most efficient. And as it puts it, guaranteeing business success. Next, this book is I think a little underrated, to be honest, but it's The One-Page Marketing Plan, Getting You Customers, Make More Money, and Stand Out from the Crowd by Alan Dibb. So this book covers everything from email marketing to in-person marketing to various tactics and strategies that you can use in marketing in general. I call it like, this is a marketing book. It's highly underrated. Like a lot of people, they go to the don't fall on me. when I take books off the shelf, they're just so dependent on each other, they start sliding. A lot of people go to this book, Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. And I'm not taking anything away from this book. This is a great book. But in my honest opinion, I think this is a superior marketing book because Expert Secrets is more of a tactics book, in my opinion. It has a lot of tactics. And tactics, they don't mean much if you don't have the right strategies in place. Think of tactics as a way that serves to get you the outcome of a strategy. But if you don't have the strategy, you're not really going to maximize the outcome that you want. So the strategy is the overall plan and the step to step on how to implement something. And the tactic is the one-off thing that seems to be working the best, that's getting you that outcome. And then I'm going into, ironically, Robert Kiyosaki's Before You Quit Your Job. But according to Rob Kiyosaki's book, you want to design the marketing around a particular tactic that is proven successful. They design different strategies around that tactic. And Russell Brunson's book is a great book that shares a very overused tactic of using webinars, which it still works. It's scarcity marketing, but I think it's a little overused and people kind of getting hip to it. So if you say you're offering a free webinar, it's starting to turn people off. So I think that book of tactics is getting overdone, overused, and it's turning the market off, in my opinion. But you got to be able to come up with various strategies to get people to the tactics so that you can get the outcome you want. And the one-page marketing plan has various strategies and tactics that can be used. And not all of them apply or rely on like using a webinar or something like that. There is a variety of places that you can get your tactics from based on the outcome you want. And it's in that book. It's very slept on. It's on audiobook too. So I recommend that you read it or listen to it. Yeah. Next, we have, unfortunately, this isn't an audiobook and that sucks. But we're going to switch gears to networking real quick for this. Click the 10, well, not the, but click 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships by George Fraser. I've actually met Dr. Fraser before, and I don't know why my brain wasn't working, but I didn't get a picture with him. I'm going to regret that to the next time I see him at an event. But yeah, this book is the best networking book that I've ever come across because a lot of people just think networking, but once you get in business, people have this bad view on networking, like it's this sleazy thing that everyone's just out for themselves or whatnot. And he shows you how to build meaningful networking relationships where both of y'all benefit in a win-win scenario. And from there, it can really offset into building like a small community around the outcome that you want. But it starts with these one-on-one relationships where you genuinely care about helping the other person and they genuinely care about helping you. But you have to make known what you need help with while offering value to their lives. So I highly recommend Click. You are going to have to sit down and read it because it doesn't have an audiobook, unfortunately. Maybe in the future, his organization will make one. I highly recommend it. In fact, maybe I should reach out to him and see if I could secure that work. Because for those of y'all that don't know, I actually narrated my book, The Anatomy of Financial Success. So I do have some voice acting in me. But speaking of The Anatomy of Financial Success, that is the next book, and I recommend it. That's the final book. The Anatomy of Financial Success, The Keys to Building Financial Confidence and Destroying Your Insecurities About Money, written by yours truly, Elijah Bilel. Now, this season, I actually am going to be referring heavily to the Anatomy of Financial Success because the unique thing that I bring to the market is the financial personalities and how that can help you achieve your financial goals. This is something the market can't really offer because no one has really had an interest in taking that from a financial perspective. The closest that I've seen is, I'm not going to pull another book off because I don't think this section of my bookshelf can take it, but it's Sales Dog. I'll flash a picture on the screen instead, but it's Sales Dog, How to, You Don't Have to Be an Attack Dog to Succeed in Sales by Blair Singer. And his book kind of inspired me to write The Anatomy of Financial Success and include the personality types because that's a personality book too, but it's limited to just sales, not personal finance in general. The personal finance, is personal. And you need to know yourself in order to succeed. And this is going to spill over into business and lead generation because everything surrounding around personality types is financial. So there are budgeting techniques that work best for certain personality types that are bad for others. And there are certain types of ways of making money that may be bad for personality type that's good for others, and vice versa. And the same applies for lead generation. Because there's 6 attributes, and we'll get into this, in the podcast, but there's 6 attributes when it comes to making money that make up the financial world, if you will. That being boldness, sociality, health, attention to detail, using technology, and creativity. And each one of the personality types are good and bad at some of those attributes. So once you know which combination of those that you're good at, you should be surrounding or building a business around your strengths and trying to avoid your weaknesses while just acknowledging they exist and working on them so that they don't hold you back. But you won't know that if you don't know what they are. So all that circles back to the anatomy of financial success. And while we're on that topic, I highly recommend that you get a financial personality report done by going to thesidehustlersociety.com and ordering you a financial personality report. You can get it for free by using the coupon that's in the description or in the pinned comment. But after a questionnaire, this will show you which one of the 6 personality types that you are, whether you're a builder, a preserver, a king of the hill type, a conservative, a sniper, or a fame seeker. Those are the 6 financial personalities. And we figure out which one you are, you can really maximize the information we're going to be talking about when it comes to lead generation. But with that being said, that concludes this prelude, if you will, to the actual season itself. Another thing that's going to be new that I'm doing something called Financial Freedom Fridays, which I had already been doing on the Side Hustle Society, but it's been separate from the podcast. To some degree, it is still separate from the podcast, but every now and then a podcast episode, if it fits, will serve as the Financial Freedom Friday too. And at the end of that episode, you can join me on the Side Hustler Society official channel, not the podcast channel that's separate, but the official channel. I'll have a Q&A at the end where you can ask me a question about anything that we've talked about in that podcast or just anything in general. So if you're interested in the Financial Freedom Friday series, click the link. There's going to be a lot of links in the description and the pinned comment, but I'll leave the playlist there. And that's just some housekeeping so you know that some of these episodes will be having a Q&A following the actual podcast episode on that channel. If you want to ask me a question in the chat, or if you just want to, you can actually come up on the show and we can talk if that's your preference. That option will be available. Now I'm going to round out this episode by saying that I'm excited for this season. I'm excited to be able to give y'all the information on lead generation that I've acquired throughout the years. As y'all know, I've been self-employed since 2016. I've been in these streets, and I'm glad to just be able to share that value with y'all. And yeah, we're going to have a productive season 2. So I will catch y'all on the next podcast. Be safe, be profitable, everyone. If you can give this video a thumbs up, if you're on YouTube, that'd be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And if you listen to us on Spotify or some other platform that allows you to review the podcast, drop a review. Let us know what you think. That'd be greatly appreciated. I'll catch y'all in the next episode. See y'all later.
This episode may be over, but your hustling journey has just started. Visit thesidehustlersociety.com to access all links and resources mentioned in the show that will help you on your hustler's journey.